That's what, that's all we need to tell. Prisoner of war, that's all you need to tell is your name and serial number. Are you ready?
Okay, go ahead.
Dorothy J. Anderson. My name was Teal, T-E-A-L. And my birthday is July 16th, 1923. I'll be 86 this year.
Okay, where were you born?
Sandpoint, Idaho. But I grew up in DeWitt County, Illinois, from the time I was 2 years old.
And what did your parents do?
My dad was a grocerman until our store burnt down. I guess he got some insurance, I don't know, but anyway, he bought a farm. He always wanted to be a farmer. And so when I was 13, we moved to the farm.
And your mom, did she just stay at home?
She was a stay-at-home mom. She helped my dad in the store when he had the grocery store.
Did you have any siblings?
Yes, there's 6 of us.
Oh, wow. Okay, before you entered the service, what were you doing?
I was a clerk. I guess at that time I was working for Lockheed out in California. My first job was with the State Farm Insurance Company in Bloomington, and one of the girls wanted to go to California because she had sisters out there. So we went out and I worked for Lockheed to help build the P-38s. And that's where I met my husband. He was working at the aircraft factory too, but he was from Illinois. Good farm boy, corn-fed farm boy. I could tell the difference.
So what was your reason for going into the military?
All the boys were gone. All the young guys were gone. And I wanted to be in where the action was anyway. And I had a girlfriend in California who had joined and wrote to me and urged me to go. And I talked to one of the girls. I had come home by that time and was working in an insurance, or where they give out the stamps for, what do you call it when you can only...
Ration?
Ration board, yeah. And one of the girls came in who had been in the wax, and I asked her about it, and she liked it, so I joined too.
How old were you?
I was 18 and had to get my mom's permission, and she said, if you don't go overseas, we had that option, the women did. And I said, okay. But when my CO called me in, I forgot, but I said that.
Oh.
She said, you want to go overseas? And I said, oh, yes. So, but the war was over in Europe, and I don't think Mom, although my mom did worry, she thought the Germans would be mean to us. Well, they weren't, because they were ready to do whatever we told them when I got there.
Who is number 2? Sydney's going to go ahead and go now.
Okay. And then you enlisted in the service, you weren't drafted?
No, they didn't draft women.
Yeah. And, okay, you said you enlisted because you wanted to be in the action. And what branch did you choose? Women's
Army Corps, they called us. We weren't in the regular Army in those days. We were a corps, and we were attached to the different... I was first attached to the Air Force, and then when I went to be in the military government, I was attached to the Army. But it was the Women's Army Corps.
Okay.
That's the way I think it ought to be. Because we had our own CO, we had our own mess hall, we had our own part of the Army camp that was ours.
What's
better,
a CO?
a lot better.
What's a CO?
What's a CO?
Commanding officer.
Okay. When did you depart for training camp, and what was it like, the early stages?
Where, what?
When did you depart for training camp?
When did I depart for
Yeah.
it?
Or how were the early days of training? How were they like?
What were they like?
Yeah.
It was, ours was a two-story building. There was about 10 of us downstairs and about 20 upstairs. But there was about 5 of those big buildings in a row. And it was just a certain part of the field that was ours. When I got to Berlin, we got our own apartments, 2 girls, 2 apartment. And it was where the Luftwaffe had been. It was their apartments, really nice. And then we rode on Interurban, or the U-Bahn they called it, to go to work. And it was just like going to a job. But we had our own, where we went to dance. We had our own dance band. And on the walls, they had big murals. One was New York City, one was San Francisco, one was Texas. And even the officers liked to come to ours, and some of them would borrow a sergeant's uniform in order to come to our place, because we had it really nice then. And I got to go to I got to go to Denmark on a furlough, and Switzerland. I got to go through Paris, and we landed, though, in Scotland in the boat, in the Queen Mary. So we went through Scotland and England on the train and got to see all that. And I leaned out the window and traded money with a little kid because I was saving all the different kinds of money. So I bought some bananas from a little boy in England so I could get some of the money.
Was there any specialized training that was required?
No, when we were inducted, they said, now they'll ask you what you want to do, what you want to be. So when they interviewed me, they said, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be a control tower operator. And they said, well, you're going to be a stenographer because you know how to take shorthand. So they did ask us what we wanted to be, but then they told us what we were going to do. So if you want to go into the service, if you want to fly, learn to fly before you go in.
How was it like adapting to the military life? Like,
You know, I was disappointed because I thought it would be more rigorous, and it wasn't. It was just like having a job. It was just like having a job for me.
Is that how, like, the whole women's corps, was it all, it was as rigorous?
Some of them were truck drivers. Some of them learned to put the cameras in the planes for the photo reconnaissance guys. Some of them were trained that way if they didn't have a skill already.
okay. So where all did you serve?
First Coffeyville, Kansas, and then the Pentagon building, which was real interesting. I was lost all the time I was there. I learned the way from the entrance to my office. That's all I could. I couldn't even find the mess hall because you know how it's built in rings and in, I think, 3 or 4 stories high, and there was ramps going everywhere, and they had bicycles for the people that had the messengers from one office to another. It was really something to see. And then, of course, I went to Berlin from there.
Okay, so what
are some details of your trip? You know, just like stories from
What did,
details from your trip abroad, like stories from Berlin or.
oh, I really enjoyed seeing the countryside. I was surprised some of the girls didn't even look out the window. They were playing cards instead of looking out the window to see everything. I really enjoyed seeing all that. And I got to go to Bavaria and learn to ski. And it was a wonderful time for me. And of course, we got to-
Sorry, we did interrupt. And Maggie, your veteran is here. Sorry, we'll edit that out.
Whenever I went on a furlough, it was really interesting to go to Denmark, and I got to take one of those Danish baths where they scrub you, and then you go in and I got to see the King Frederick
I've done that.
of Denmark. We went to a ballet, and he was there up in his box with his family. Yeah. And of course, I got to see Eleanor Roosevelt when she came and I got to take her picture. Because she, at that time, Roosevelt had died, and she was made ambassador, or she was in the, what is it? It's not the League of Nations, it's the one
The
that.
UN.
The UN,
United
yeah, she was a
Nations.
UN ambassador,
Mhm.
and that's how she happened to be over there.
So did you eat with her? You ate Thanksgiving?
We got to
with
eat with her on
That's really
Thanksgiving.
her? she's
I've got a picture of me on the outside of the mess hall
Oh, yeah.
that day.
Okay, so now, like, just any actions witnessed. I mean, I guess you weren't on the front lines of battle or anything.
No.
but-
Thank
Okay,
goodness. Now,
yeah.
the girls do have to go there now,
Mhm.
but
So, okay,
you know, they were so good to us because it was something new, women in the Army. They were really protective of us. It was nice. They were really good to us.
okay, but so now, were there friendships formed?
Yes, but
Yeah.
I saw two of my friends afterward, only two, but I've lost track of them. Imagine I outlived everybody.
Yeah. So how did you stay in touch with your family and friends from back home?
We were allowed, we just had to write free on our letters.
Oh,
We
yeah.
didn't have to pay.
Oh, that's neat.
No.
Okay, so what did you do in your off-duty time, like recreation?
Oh, we danced.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. My best partner was from Brooklyn, George. And he was so nice. He was a married man. You wouldn't have known it because he was so good and he was faithful to his wife. But he loved to dance, and I did too. So, and finally when it came time to go home, he said, I need a letter written. Can you write me a letter? And of course, that was my job, was writing letters. So I wrote him a real good letter of why he needed to go home. So he said, I lost my good partner, my good dance partner that time.
What was your favorite dance?
Just round dancing. But we had a good orchestra. When we went to ballets and they had a symphonies. Only time this little country girl got to see all those ballets. One was the Fleeter Mouse,
Oh, yeah.
and one was Carmen. So it was very broadening for me.
Yeah. Sounds really
Yeah, it was wonderful.
neat.
But one of the girls later came, and she worked for the State Department. She got really good pay, And she did the same work we did. So I advise anybody, don't go in the Army, go in the state, go to work for the State Department. Because you can go all over the world for the State Department.
Make a lot of money.
Yeah, and get good pay for it.
Where were you when the war ended?
Which war?
I mean,
Was it the Japanese war?
Yeah.
I was in Berlin and when Japanese surrendered. Yeah.
What were your like feelings about when it ended? Was it like relief or joy or?
Oh yeah, because my friends, the men, were ready to go home, and then they got orders to go to Japan. So most of them thought that they were on the way to Japan. Some of them even were in the Panama Canal on the way to Japan when the war ended. They were really happy about that. They got to go home instead.
How did you get home?
Oh, I went over on the Queen Mary, which only took 5 days. I had to come back on a little Victory ship. It took 10 days to come back on that. And it was run by merchant marines, not by the military, but by merchant marines. And they were so good. There were, 8 girls on there with all those men. And a lot of chaplains were coming back at that time too. And so it took 10 days, and we decided to put out a newspaper. So they gave me the job of going up to the radio room and getting the reports, because the baseball series was on in the U.S. and we wanted to know the scores, so I got to do that.
What were your feelings on the way home?
Oh, it was fun. It was a lot of fun because we had all these men that were wanting to talk to us. They were always wanting to talk to us. And I thought I had a story to tell you. Oh yeah, on the way back, this one fellow was playing cards with everybody, and he was winning. He was a card shark, and he was winning all their money. And so he asked me if I would save his money for him, because I had a little pouch that I kept on the inside of my shirt. And so he said, when we get to New York City, you meet me at the Latin Quarter and we'll go see the town. So he had $1,100 by the time we got back to New York. So there were 3 of us girls. We never went any place by ourselves at night. So 3 of us girls got together and we went down to the Latin Quarter because we had overnight in New York. There he was with one of his buddies and 2 blonde women from New York. He didn't think we'd ever get to the Latin Quarter. We really embarrassed him. But we left right quick.
What were the reactions from your family and friends when you came back?
You know, they never talked to me about it. And one time, years later, when I said something about it, they said, well, you never talk about it. And I said, well, you never do ask me. They acted like it was something that, I don't know, they just dismissed it. It was kind of like the Vietnam guys felt that, you know, it was just forgotten. I was surprised.
Was it hard to adapt to the new life from like the military to civilian, or was
Not for me. No. I think we were all so happy to get back to regular. And we had the GI Bill to go to. I went to college one semester on the GI Bill.
Was there anything you missed though?
Anyway,
Was there anything in the military that you missed when you got back?
oh, I was ready to come home. I was ready to come home. My mother was real sick too. She had a big tumor and had been sick, and I wanted to be there.
Have you stayed in contact with any fellow vets?
No, I haven't. Except my husband, we just wrote, we weren't married, we just wrote back and forth. So one time at Christmas, I got a Christmas card from him that said, write to me, but he didn't put his address on there. So I wrote to 3 different rural routes in Macomb. Rural Route 1, Rural Route 2, Rural Route 3, they all came back because that was the postmark. So I forgot about that. So then one night during a big thunderstorm, I woke up, the thunder and Roseville was in my head. I looked it up on the map the next morning. It was close to Macomb. I wrote to Roseville and he got it. So then he started coming over and then we got married after that.
Are you a member of any veteran organizations?
Yeah, that's been a great thing for me. You know, you miss men. You don't want to be attached especially to them, but you miss talking to them. So I'm the adjutant at the VFW, and I'm the only girl in there, the only woman in there, and they're really good to me. And I get to go every month, and I make a pie. That I think they like the pie better than, you know, really they look forward to that pie. And I take the minutes of the meeting at the VFW, the Veterans of Foreign War. And then I'm also a member of the American Legion, although I don't go there because I figured one organization was enough for me to keep up with. But I'm a life member on both of them.
How has your wartime experiences affected your life?
You know, it's been a wonderful thing because I don't know, I can't use the words that I want, but it's made me a part of something, you know, that I wouldn't have been otherwise. I'm real proud to have done that. Although I didn't do it to be, at the time, to be patriotic. I did it because I was lonesome and I wanted to be out where everybody else was doing things.
Is there any life lessons you learned from being in the military?
I'm glad I was a good girl. Because some of them weren't. Some of them said, I know there's one girl said, well, we're going to get blown up by the bomb, so I'm just going to do whatever I want to, and she did too. She just used it for an excuse, see. And one of my friends too fell in love everywhere we went. And she finally got married in Berlin. And I stood up with her for her wedding. And poor thing, I know that it didn't last. You know? She just wanted to be married.
So were you married while you were in the service, or was it
No,
afterwards?
afterwards.
It was afterwards.
Yeah.
How'd you meet your husband?
We both worked in an aircraft factory in Los Angeles before the war.
Yeah. What was your life like before you joined? Was there, like, because the war was going on, so was there any changes?
I worked in an insurance company before I went to the aircraft factory. And like I say, it was really lonesome because all the young guys were gone. It was really lonesome. And you saw the families breaking up. And it's not good.
Did any of your siblings serve in the military other than you?
My brother went in later, real late in the war. He had children, so he wasn't drafted until real late. But he never did have to go overseas.
So what did you do after the war? Did you go back to
Just
job?
had children. I had 4 in 9 years. And lived on the farm.
How was the food Like when you,
Food?
yeah, while.
We had our own cooks in our own mess hall, and it was good, really good.
What was your favorite meal?
I don't know. I never did pay much attention to food. I don't even like to cook. I cook because I have to. I just eat what there is.
What was your favorite place to visit during all of your
I
traveling?
guess the Switzerland trip was really the most outstanding one.
What made it so special?
It was at Christmas, and I missed milk because we didn't have any milk. And there they would put a whole pitcher of milk on the table and little jars of jam, and you could eat all you wanted. And I was with a bunch of real nice guys on that trip. And it was a conducted tour. So we saw a lot of things and got to go to the Matterhorn and learn to ski, and it was really nice.
Which was your least favorite?
I guess living in Coffeyville was really, because it was so flat, and it was out in the country, and there wasn't anything to do. And some of the guys were coming back from the Pacific at that time, and had been in combat, and they were mean. And I worked for the trial judge advocate, and it was his job to court-martial the guys. So I wasn't very popular on the post.
So overall, how long were you in the military?
2 years.
2 years.
Some of the guys were in 4 years. Their enlistment was 4 years. Ours was 2 years.
Were all women's 2 years?
Mm-hmm. It was funny on the way back. I'll tell you this little story. There were 8 of us on the ship, and the captain invited us all to supper. Well, I didn't know, but he did. And because one of the chaplains was a real young, good-looking guy from St. Louis. But he was a he was a Catholic chaplain. And he came to me and he said, "I've got a couple of pies. You want to hide out and eat them?" And that's what we did. And it was that night that I could have eaten with the captain of the ship with the other blacks, and I missed out on it. I didn't often do anything I wasn't supposed to, but I always got caught every time.
Do you have any other stories for us?
I can't think of any other stories that I need to tell you. That's every once in a while I think of something to tell my kids.
Do your kids live around here?
My son lives 2 blocks from me. He calls me every day, checks on me. In fact, he just called me and said, "Come over for lunch," and I'd already eaten lunch.
Where do you live in Macomb?
Good Hope.
Good.
My other 3 children, one lives in Muscatine, Iowa, one lives in Rock Island, and my oldest son lives in Denver.
How many grandkids do you have?
6, but I have 14 great-grandchildren.
Oh, wow.
One was just born this week.
Oh. Because you mentioned your brother-in-law was your sister's husband served in Luxembourg? Just me.
My sister's, my oldest sister's brother-in-law was killed. He was a pilot, a B-17 pilot. He was killed over in Luxembourg.
Did you know a lot of people
who
Who served
and died.
Yeah.
My brother's best friend was killed in Guam. Mhm. One of the boys that, one of the farm boys that I grew up with was on that Bataan death march from the Philippines to Japan, but he lived. He lived through it.
In 1994, I returned to prep for baseball. I signed a minor league contract. I reported to spring training and to the minor league system. With 202 batting average. I later professional basketball at the end of the with 30 points. Points against the March 28, 1990. In those first months, needed to know about being